Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Green, and this will be a Pecha Kucha presentation discussing the ethics of surveillance technology. I'll begin the presentation with a brief history of surveillance technology, followed by its current state and how it has led to ethical issues that we see today. Merriam-Webster defines surveillance as a close watch kept over someone or something. This definition is rather broad and could be in reference to something as simple as someone watching their neighbor's lawn mowing habits, to the government keeping tabs on citizens' phone calls, emails, or internet search history. Surveillance using technology dates back to the 1800s, when the telegraph became a viable means for individuals and businesses to communicate. Shortly after the telegraph's invention, private detectives began wiretapping to listen into private conversations or steal corporate secrets. The obvious ethical issues of this wiretapping led to early privacy laws in regards to technology. One of the first court cases that involved government surveillance was during the Prohibition era in the United States. Law enforcement placed a wiretap near the home of a known bootlegger, and that evidence was used in court to convict him. This led to a Supreme Court case that eventually led to making wiretapping federally illegal in 1934. Fast forwarding a bit to the 1940s, the Allied military used surveillance technology to crack the German code known as Enigma. They used this technology to stifle the Axis military maneuvers and end the war earlier than expected. In hindsight, it's obvious to say that the use of this surveillance technology was ethical. In the early 1990s, the birth of the internet led to several new privacy concerns due to the vast amount of data that users were putting online. This technology allowed people to freely communicate and find information on whatever topic they wanted. While there were surveillance concerns in these early days of the webs, one event led to a much more wide-reaching surveillance issue. That event, of course, was the terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001. Following this event, President George Bush enacted the Patriot Act. This act eventually loosened restrictions on law enforcement's ability to surveil the public to monitor for suspected terrorist activity. While on the surface, this act appears to have ethical intentions, but there have been many that question its use. Those questioning the ethical use of the Patriot Act were provided with more evidence in 2013 when a former NSA agent, Edward Snowden, leaked a massive document showing that the agency had tracked phone calls and emails of millions of Americans that were not being targeted specifically for terrorist activity. Government surveillance isn't the only type of surveillance that citizens today are concerned with. When it comes to privacy concerns, other technologies that draw attention are social media, online purchasing, and smart home devices. In the early days of social media, it was more or less a joke that people would say that their devices were listening to them and the content they received was targeted. However, it is now common practice for companies to listen on these internet-connected devices to market their products to specific users. While it may seem like a breach of privacy for companies to do this, most of them include sections in their user agreement that allow them to do this. In my opinion, this holds a major ethical issue, because many of these companies are well aware that most people scroll to the bottom and click accept without understanding the hidden terms. Not only do these companies use the voice-activated technology to track users' trends, they're also monitoring search and spending trends on most websites. They do this with the use of cookies. These cookies are essentially a file that the website generates for every user when they enter the website. This file is then used to target advertisements to the user that are often sold to other websites for them to track as well. While it is completely legal for websites to use these cookie information, many users see it as an ethical issue because their privacy is being invaded. Due to this, many web browsers now offer ad blockers, private browsing, and VPN services to help users avoid their information being tracked. Some of the newer ethical issues when it comes to surveillance technology have to do with artificial intelligence. In Chapter 1 of Living with a Genie, Richard Powers talks about one of the early versions of artificial technology that essentially will act as different characters and carry on full-on conversation in imaginary worlds. While this technology was logging all of the user's entries to continue improving its abilities, the surveillance of users was not a key point of the article. However, The use of artificial intelligence in 2023 has grown significantly, and new ethical issues of the use of artificial intelligence have arisen. In an era of video surveillance in almost every public space, artificial intelligence is being used to monitor this footage and analyze trends to hopefully catch out of the ordinary acts. This technology can be great for law enforcement because it reduces the amount of man hours that are spent reviewing security footage, but it also adds another level of privacy invasion to the average citizen. The Fourth Amendment offers United States citizens some protection when it comes to surveillance. It reduces the ability of the government or law enforcement officials to surveil individuals without limits. For most direct surveillance of an individual, a warrant and probable cause is often required. As we have discussed throughout this presentation, however, there are many laws, such as the Patriot Act, that officials can use to get around this amendment. When evidence gained through surveillance technology is used, it is often fought in court, citing the Fourth Amendment. These cases are often brought to the U.S. Supreme Court to decide if the use was legal and/or ethical. As with any technology, surveillance technology can be used in an ethical or a non-ethical manner. Elected officials have a responsibility to use surveillance in a manner that protects the public but does not impede on their privacy. The public also has a responsibility to question the government use of surveillance and understand the laws that protect them from unrightful surveillance. The concept of ethics differs from person to person and corporation to corporation. With the advent of new technology, almost always comes new ethical issues for each individual to decide on. Thank you for watching my presentation, and I hope that it will encourage some thoughtful conversation in the discussion board below.